The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
The meeting will come to order. This is the March 3rd of 2022 meeting of the Apple Valley Park and Recreation Advisory Committee. And the first order of business, as always, is to stand, face the flag, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we are electing the committee officers. Doreen, perhaps you'd like to guide us through the procedure?
Mr. Chair, in front of you there, you do have a ballot. If you will vote for a chairperson and a secretary. And then if you want to just pass them down this direction, I'll collect them, tally them, and then allow you to move on to the next agenda item, and then I'll come back and announce.
Okay. That seems, I'm going to follow that.
And I'll pull this one, too.
Is this Matt's?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to look at the agenda for tonight. Are there any changes from what has been published?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we are going to postpone item 6A, and we hope to bring that back to you at the next meeting.
Okay, 6A is being postponed. But anything else from the committee? Anything that we want to add? If not, like a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it was moved by Dave, seconded by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? No, that motion's carried. Now we turn to the audience participation. There is no one present that obviously wishes to address the committee. Administrator, is there anybody calling in who wishes to be heard?
Mr. Chair, we have no one who would like to speak.
Thank you very much. So that, no audience participation. So then we move on to the approval of our last meeting minutes. That was February of this year. Are there any, have we all had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, are there any changes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes as they stand.
Second.
Okay, that was moved by Noel, seconded by Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No one opposed? That is also carried.
Mr. Chair, may I just interrupt?
Of course.
We do have the tally of the votes. It looks like Brent Schultz has been nominated or elected as the chairperson and Lisa Hebert as secretary.
Wonderful. Good choice.
If someone
was
wants to
talking
make,
I'll pat you on the back, don't worry.
can I ask for a motion approving that outcome, please?
You need to make.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the votes as announced.
Second.
Okay, so again, motion by Dave, seconded by Mark. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No one opposed, so that's also carried. Well, thank you, Doreen.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to talk about repurposing of the Hayes Park pickleball court area. This is the third time that we've talked about this topic, so I'm hoping that we can put this thing to bed tonight.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we have talked about this a few different times, so I'm going to
go through this quite quickly. I'm not going to necessarily cover every slide, but at the last meeting, committee members asked us to look at what it might cost to put a sport court or a vinyl coating over the court area. And so we researched that cost. It's about it's about $5.50 a square foot. So if we were going to do 2 courts, it would be about $36,000. If we were going to do 4 courts, it's about $69,000. And if we're going to do all 6 courts, it would be about $104,000. As you recall, we had provided some estimates to you with regards to just using the existing surface, putting a new coating on top of it, putting up some windscreens, doing some net modifications. That would have been about a $48,000 expenditure. So those are the numbers and the information that the committee asked us to research. As I pointed out at the informal meeting, we do have people coming to play badminton at the community center inside, and so we did a little bit of an informal poll with them as they checked in, and our staff asked them if we were to provide outdoor badminton courts, would you use them? And overwhelmingly, the folks that came and played inside said that they wouldn't play outside unless we could guarantee or pretty much do a great job of knocking down any wind. For those that might be listening at home, when people come to play badminton in the gymnasiums, we have big fans in the gyms to kind of move the air around a little bit. They actually ask us to turn the fans off when they're in there playing badminton. So that's how sensitive they are to any wind that might impact the game that they're playing. So I don't know that badminton would be a very popular sport outside. And so therefore, we would suggest that that be not something that we invest dollars into. So I can stand and answer questions that the committee may have about what the next step is. But as a reminder, from a staff perspective, because we're likely be having a Parks Bond referendum in November of 2023, our suggestion is to just leave the courts sit empty, unfortunately with a lock on the gate, and then once the outcome of a referendum is known, then we can take our next steps. And so I'll let the committee discuss, and you can make a recommendation that the council will consider.
All right, committee, any thoughts?
Is there a reason why it has to stay locked? Is there no use for it as is? Or we just want to prevent?
Yeah, so what I'm pretty sure will happen if people go in there is that some people will go in there and play pickleball.
Right.
And that'll just be the problems we've experienced for the last 5 or 6 years all over again. So the only way to ensure that doesn't happen, at least from our perspective, is to lock the gate.
Is there a reason that we don't want to remove them altogether? Because they're not going to be part of the master plan. I mean, we know that.
Well, pickleball might not be part of the master plan, but we don't know what's going to be part of the master plan. Maybe there's going to be something that's court-related that could be part of the master plan. And so just from our perspective, to put any energy or dollars, even if it's just staff time, into it at this point until we know what it's going to be, doesn't seem like a smart move from a staff perspective. But obviously the committee members have an opportunity to, make a recommendation that you think is most appropriate.
My comment that is, I appreciate the extra work to go in and look at this, the feasibility of this, and based on that, I'm disappointed we aren't able to do pickleball in a badminton in a cost-effective way. But I think hearing that users aren't likely to use an outdoor court, the extra staff time to investigate it further, I'm ready to accept the staff recommendation to keep it padlocked until the master plan is complete. So if that, I would make a motion to accept the recommendation of staff to as presented.
I would second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Dave, second by Noel, to adopt the staff recommendation, leave courts locked until a new master plan for a community center, senior center is developed. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Then, This is an interesting topic. We're going to talk about electric vehicle car charging stations in our fine city, predominantly in the parks.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm having okay, here we go. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, so the city of Apple Valley's been approached by a company that has an interest in installing electric vehicle charging stations within public parking lots. So think of whether that be our liquor stores here at the municipal center or somewhere within our park system. So we wanted to get feedback from the Parks Committee on the idea of having these stations installed in parking stalls that are a part of our park and recreation system. Under the proposal that the company is, what they're proposing is that at their cost, so not at a cost of the city, but at their cost, they would design, install, operate, maintain, and replace these charging stations for as long as they are in our park and recreation system. It would be all of their expense, including the cost of electricity. The city would get a small revenue sharing based on the usage of these electric car charging stations. So you can imagine in the beginning, we probably aren't going to earn that much money because electric vehicles are still fairly new. But as time goes on, and as the interest in being able to charge vehicles becomes greater, we may see a little bit of more revenue, but that's yet to be seen. So just wanting to get feedback from the committee on the concept, and then from a staff perspective, we'll, depending on what your thoughts are, we'll investigate further and determine, if that's something that the city should do. And obviously, the city attorney would get involved in the writing of a contract, and the city council would get involved in approving a contract, et cetera, et cetera. Chances are this would come back to you at some point with specific locations, number of stalls, things like that. But at this point, it's more of a high-level discussion. How do you feel about that possibility? So turn it over to the committee members for discussion, and happy to answer any questions.
Well, I think electric vehicles are the future, and sales are fairly robust even right now. And I think that one of the committee members previously used the word progressive. I think this is a very progressive thing for the city to do. So I'm completely in favor of it.
And I think like cell phones, I don't think we're going to have a bunch of, charging plugs like we do now. I think they'll evolve to a wireless charging platform that you pull your car over. That just seems, we do it with our phone now, so I'm guessing that would be the only concern that I have, is that we have a parking lot full of pumps, and maybe that is the case at the beginning, but I think it is progressive. It is changing. It's an evolving technology. I'm all for it.
Tesla sold 100,000 cars last year.
I'm also glad to see that they're looking at, having the level 2 and the fast chargers, because I think having the mix of the different charging stations is very important. I think that it will be a welcome addition. It will make, maybe be another draw to get people to come and see our awesome parks and everything like that. So I think that it's really fantastic. Would love to see more and certainly champion this idea. I think, one thing that this is down the road is with the revenue sharing and what the prices are, and making sure that that they're reasonable when that the city can maintain some control in the contract, so that it's not out of whack with other charging stations in other cities or other locations and things like that. So making sure that we're keeping it affordable for people to use those charging stations is important as well.
I see no reason not to proceed with investigating it, so I think it's a great opportunity. Let's look more at it, full speed ahead.
Are you looking for anything from us, or just feedback?
Just at this point, just feedback.
Okay.
So all these
So-
parks,
Positive feedback.
So, yeah, so what I'm sorry, go ahead.
all of these parks are being considered that we have listed here?
I mean, these are the parks that, from a staff perspective, we threw out there. So where I see this going now is that I'm basically hearing positive feedback from the Parks Committee. We'll obviously share that with our city administrator and some of the other staff that are working on this. And then as we get deeper into contract negotiations with a firm to do this, I would envision that we'll come back to the Parks Committee and say, here's how many stations we want to install here, 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 and here. It may be all of these on the list, it may be only a few of these on the list, I'm not exactly sure yet, but we'll bring this back to you when we get more details worked out.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate the feedback.
Well, item 6D is the committee's annual report. And Eric, you're going to talk about that too, I'm assuming.
Actually, are you comfortable talking about it, or do you want me to? All right. So, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, we have your annual report you reviewed at this at your last informal meeting. This evening, we're asking you to approve it, and if you do approve it, we will forward it on to the City Council for their review at one of their upcoming City Council meetings. Really, the annual report just kind of gives a year in review of the actions that the Parks Committee worked on. Obviously, you spent quite a bit of time in 2021 looking at the park system, the needs of the park system, planning for its future, and ultimately in September, sitting down with the City Council in a joint meeting to talk about the potential of going forward to a parks bond referendum in November of 2023. The City Council is on board with that, at least on board with that process that has been outlined. And so we are starting that process. We will be looking for community feedback in the months to come. And then depending on that feedback that we get from the community through ultimately a statistically accurate community survey and what information that tells us, we hope to be moving forward to a vote in November of 2023. If the data tells us we shouldn't, then we'll obviously be smart and listen to what the survey tells us, but we will do our best to educate the community about what the needs are, what the opportunities are, what the costs are, and we'll let them obviously give us that feedback and help us make that decision before we would move forward. So generally speaking, that's what the report outlines. Happy to stand and answer any questions you may have.
I'll make a motion to approve the Parks and Recs Advisory Committee's 2021 year-end report.
For a second?
I'll second.
Okay, well, we're picking up a pattern here. A motion by Dave, seconded by Mark to approve the annual report, the year-end report as published. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No one? That is carried. Good job. I like last year was a very ambitious year. I really feel good about all the initiatives that have been put in place, and certainly you're the captain of the ship, of that whole thing. So I think we're making some real progress. I'm very happy with that.
Great.
So thank you.
And I'm glad you're on board. Pushing us down the road.
Pushing as hard as I can.
Let's, okay, well, so as long as you're here, then Eric, you can talk about the committee goals as well.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, at your informal meeting, for the last two informal meetings, you've talked about goals that you would have for 2022. There are two goals outlined for your review and approval for 2022. One references planning for the future of our park system and really that community engagement about a potential parks bond referendum. And the second goal is the creation of a Parks and Recreation sign master plan. And when we talk about that, we're talking about the park ID signs that you see in every single park in our system, the signs you see on our trails and our rule sign. And so trying to tie all of that together to give it one overall branding and making sure that as people walk down an Apple Valley trail or go into an Apple Valley park, they can see some synergy and some of the same types of branding so that they know they're in a City of Apple Valley facility, et cetera. So that would all be part of a parks bond referendum, and if successful, that's when something like that might get implemented. So those are the two goals that you've talked about. So it's just a matter of you confirming that that's what you want to work on for 2022.
I think that's ambitious enough.
Yep, I'm good with that.
I'm sorry?
I'm good with that.
Okay, are we all good? Are you looking for a motion on this, Eric, or just?
They're your goals, so you should adopt them as a committee, if that's what you want to do.
Oh, okay, fine, perfect. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to adopt these goals as published.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adopt these goals as written.
I will second.
Okay, so now this motion is from Matt, seconded by Lisa, to adopt his goals for 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, there's not. So these are our goals. What, I mean, just informally here, I mean, what would as far as the sign with master plan is concerned, I mean, is there anything that we should be doing on that now, or, I mean, how do you see this evolving or progressing?
Yep, so we had a kickoff meeting with Confluence. They're the firm that we hired to help us do the 4 master plans. And so we talked to them about helping us put some concepts together for a signed master plan. And so as we start to work with them, and as you start to work with them, we'll work together to try to put some of that together. I don't envision us having specifically exactly what the signs will look like, but we will have a very good concept plan of how we're going to do it. I would envision that, and maybe in some of our smaller parks, you know, the sign investment isn't going to maybe be as large as the investment we would put at Johnny Cake, as an example, or some of our more major parks. But they're all going to be in part of the same family, and they're all going to look like the same thing, or they're all going to have elements that are going to be very similar. But you know, the ones that we have in our major facilities are going to be a little bit more bold, if you will, than the ones that are going to be in some of our smaller parks. But somebody like Confluence will help us develop that.
Would that include the tee boxes at the Frisbee golf?
There may be an opportunity to somehow connect that all together, but yeah, we want to make sure that, again, when people are in an Apple Valley park, that and whether they're playing disc golf, walking down a trail, reading a rule sign, at our new off-leash dog areas, that there's elements that are all the same. So that's color, that's shape, that's font size, font style, all that stuff. Similar, the same, so that people know they're in Apple Valley.
Would we also, once we get that system down, or that styling down, would we include that to the, I don't know, the city planning? That going forward, any future signs also has that look? Because I think they had a look at one point, and then we got new stuff, and then they went new directions, you know? Can we make sure that goes forward so we don't have to, you know, do this again?
I would hope that we would develop a standard, if you will, and that we follow our standard once we get it established.
Another part of this, Eric, that I would like to see included would be, wayfinding signs.
Mm-hmm.
Has that already been mentioned and thought of?
Yep.
As part of this program?
Mm-hmm.
It's in there.
Perfect.
And I guess I would just like to share, I know that these goals aren't necessarily up there for the public to see, but I think the real key with these goals for our committee this year is really that we have a lot of work to do, that engaging the community and working with them to really get their thoughts, their input on what our park system should be and moving forward with this potential bond referendum for 2023. So it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of engagement with the public and our residents in our community to hear from them so that they can help provide that direction. So I think just wanted to kind of state that publicly to let people know that that's really the intention of the committee, is to get that input from the public and the staff as well.
As we get started on the effort, There's going to be more and more opportunities for people to become involved, both in-person meetings and virtually and online, whether that be answering a survey or jumping online and getting on a platform that allows people to make specific comments about our park system. We also want to make sure that we're moving at a pace that keeps people engaged and excited, and that we don't slow down so much that people become disengaged or disinterested in what we're doing. But we don't want to go so fast that people don't feel like they have a chance to be heard. And so there's got to be that happy medium. We want to guard against meeting fatigue, so people don't have to come to meetings every single night, or to a whole bunch of meetings, because we do want people's feedback, because at the end of the day, it's your park system, it's their park system. And we want to make sure we're providing what the public wants.
And I just want to say thank you and appreciate that, through this whole process that has been kind of front and center, as we've worked together with you, with the staff and the city council to make sure that happens. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, so would you like to introduce the first of the division update?
Yeah, so I think we've got division updates next, and it looks like we're going with the arenas, so we'll have Brian come up.
Thank you, Eric.
You need some music or something like that when the time
Walk-up music.
Walk-up music.
A little marching music.
Oh, walk-up.
Yeah, like bass.
Yeah, I think you get your own walk-up music.
We get to pick.
We don't get to pick our own, then that's no
But
fun.
we will
I
do a
think you
tunnel
can pick
for you. Yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, committee members, thank you for having me tonight. Brian Christensen, Arena Manager. As I say every year during this meeting, we are winding down as Jim's winding up. And the biggest part of that process for us are changeovers, as we talk about each year, but also for us, this time of year always brings the ice show, the annual ice show put on by the District 196 figure skating team, and their name's the Icettes. The Icettes, along with our Apple Valley Learn to Skate program, put on an ice show every single year. It runs Thursday through Saturday this year, every night, 7 o'clock at the sports arena. It is a ticketed event, so it's $7 for adults, $5 for students. This is an annual thing since the building opened in 1976. This has been held even last year when we had really strict restrictions on the building, everything. They still hosted the ice show. They only did one night. This year we're back to the 3 nights. Gets a really good turnout every single year, and the skaters really enjoy it. We end up taking out about 2/3 of the glass for this show every year, just to allow them some better viewing for the fans and get them a little closer for the parents and everything. And they always hand out flowers at the end of every night to the skaters as well. So it's another thing that we allow, or it's another program that our Learn to Skate kids are able to be involved in if they want to. Typically, we'll see between 10 and 20 of our skaters participate in it, and it's one of their favorite things to do every year. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention tonight that the Eastview boys are playing Cretin-Durham Hall right now. Puck dropped at 7 o'clock. A couple minutes ago, it was still 0-0, so they're playing to go to state. That'd be their first state appearance for the boys in about 10 years. So hopefully they can pull one off tonight against the top-ranked team in the state. As the show comes to the conclusion on Saturday night, we start right away tearing down everything in the sports arena. Everything they put up for the ice show, we tear down starting Saturday night and start shaving out the ice that night. Continues into Sunday and a little bit on Monday. It takes us 1 week to go from an ice arena to a tennis court facility. Once the courts are in, we'll host the Apple Valley boys and girls tennis teams. The boys are in the spring, the girls are in the fall. And also we have gym classes down there all day, every day. Outside of those uses, we're hosting at least 2 craft sales this year, and we'll have 2 consignment sales in there as well. One each in the early to later spring, and then once we get to July, they both come back again for kind of a fall clothing and craft sale time in the building. So, you know, the building doesn't see as much use in the summer, but we're looking at more and more ways to try and get more people in there when the tennis courts aren't in use. Lastly, at Hayes Arena this year, we are now in our first full year of year-round ice. every year prior to this, about this time of year, we'd be taking out the ice to put in turf. We're no longer doing that, as we would have needed to replace that turf at a very high cost. And it just, business-wise, wasn't smart for us to do at this time. So year-round ice is coming up. We've got pretty good, in my mind, pretty good rentals for the first year of running ice. We have runs starting in June every year, but now having March, April, and May available, it's filling up pretty well for our first year. So that's a good sign for things to come. In addition to that, we will be running an extra Learn to Skate program that starts it'll start April, it's the third Monday in April, I forget the exact date of that. We've never had those April lessons before. We've always taken March, April, and May off and started up again in June, so we'll be offering that class again in April, and hopefully we'll have a really good turnout. We've got a lot of people reaching out about that already, so that's a really good sign for us going forward. And then in June, we'll start the high school summer training programs and the Youth Association summer training programs. Those run 6 weeks in June and July, and then August picks up again with some more AAA hockey teams and some more of the associations getting ready to start their season up again in September. That's all I have for you guys tonight. With that, I stand with any questions.
Great job.
Are you running concession stands for all this, Brian? Or?
We are not. We didn't run concessions this year. We couldn't get the staffing for it. We ended up adding vending in both machines, a more extensive selection of vending for people to use during the games, but we didn't run concession stands.
Any plans to bring that back, or?
We'll see. We'll see.
Just based on staffing?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right, anything else? All right. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Zink from Valleywood, are you
I believe it is me.
on deck here? To use a mixed metaphor.
Ready to tee off?
Yeah, are you ready to tee off?
We're getting there. We're getting there. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Jim Zink, golf course manager out of Valleywood. As Brian said, we are gearing up. Spring is right around the corner. What I have tonight is a summary of last year's season. But before I get into that, just a couple things we've had going in the off season. We're doing some public events. We had a ladies' night out a few weeks ago. That was February 17th. It was a great night. Everybody had a great time. And we have just booked Adam Daniel will be performing. He's a solo guitarist. He played with G.B. Layton from 5 to 7 on Friday, May 13th. So we're starting to expand, trying to expand some of our public events. Obviously, we'll have a lot of golfers around on a Friday in May, but an opportunity again to show the building off to some members of the public that maybe wouldn't otherwise be there. And we just as of this afternoon, sent out our March newsletter, letting everyone know spring is upon us. So we're looking forward to another good year. We had a great year last year. One thing I would like to point out on this slide, on the one side there, is our new Valleywood logo. That is part of ongoing process over about the last year and a half in developing a new long-range business plan, and updating the logo is a part of that. So we just got that done maybe a month ago, and we are in the process of putting a new sign in out at the front gate. We'll be adding a sign along our property on Pilot Knob as well. But with that, we will summarize the 2021 season. As you guys knew, throughout last year during updates, we were having another banner season. 2021, we saw almost 39,000 rounds. As I say, if we could have just gotten one more day open, we would have got to 39,000 rounds. So we're really, really encouraged with what we're seeing. It was a great year for us. And you'll see a consistent kind of pattern here with the 2021 numbers. When I was here at the end of 2020 talking about that season, I thought particularly the summer months numbers were extremely high. Turns out it's now becoming a pattern, which is great. And then the one note was last April, we were delayed from opening with COVID restrictions, and the governor had us delay about 10 days. So I think otherwise we would have probably done a couple more 1,000 rounds last year, but we had a great year in 2021. As you can see, during the summer, we are extremely busy. One of the ways we gauge how we're doing is not just the total rounds, but trying to increase the revenue per round. So that includes golf carts, driving range, food and beverage, just all revenue. And so not only were our rounds up quite a bit last year, but our revenue per round was up as well. So we're hoping to continue to grow both of those numbers. One of the things we saw, this slide is broken out by each of the 4 main leagues we operate. In 2020, particularly in the men's league, you see kind of that drop in participation. A lot of that was COVID related, that people just didn't want to commit and not knowing kind of what was going on. We saw a very strong bounce back last year, and we're getting a lot of interest this year. We do have room in 3 of those 4 leagues. The women's 9-hole league that plays on Thursday evening, which is our largest league, they are about maxed out. So at 136, that's about their maximum available. But they always have a few that leave each year, so there is some availability. We ask people to reach out to us if they're interested in the leagues. All the league information is available on our website, and you can get information there on how each of the leagues operates and runs, and by all means, stop out or give us a call if you have any questions. But the numbers are great for those events and leagues in 21. Again, similar impact to our patron card program. With COVID and people just not sure. Typically, we sell about 90% of our patron cards before May 1st. So I think as the season went on, people got playing more and more in 2020, but they didn't buy the patron card early in the year. But we're seeing those numbers come back. We expect to be back roughly at our numbers we were previously in 18-19. So very encouraging. One of the things we worked through over the last about 18 months with a task force that included council members, our chair here, and staff was development of a long-range business plan, and that included kind of some, I guess, housekeeping, if you will, and changing how the golf course fund is set up. And the goal of that is to make it a little more transparent, a little easier for people to understand. And it also included the approval of an irrigation and on-course improvement package. We may currently have the oldest golf course irrigation system in the state. It's original. Well, the pipe that's under the course is original, but very little else is. We've replaced most everything over the years, so it'll be great to finally get that done. That was quite a process. We initially rejected the initial bids we got, decided we would be better off purchasing more or less the whole goods and things that we would need for that project. So we purchased our irrigation, the sprinkler heads, the controls, those things we purchased through the state contract. Then we went ahead and did a bid process on the pipe. So for those of you that are out playing the golf course, if you're going up the 16th hole and you know to look over in the maintenance area, you will see we have a lot of pipe stored there. But we were able to, I guess, stretch our dollar as far as we could by doing it that way. Then we went back out to bid on just the installation of that. It's a very complicated project, so we work with irrigation architect. So he has all laid out exactly what we'll need. And then we were able to award that bid to Leibold Irrigation. So where we're at today is we've updated our logo, as I mentioned. We are in the process, met this morning with our sign company that will be installing a new sign and reader board at the front entrance of the golf course. So we're hoping, they're planning to start that install the middle of next week. Hopefully we'll have it pretty close to completed by the time we open here, beginning of April. As part of the golf course improvement package, there was a tree management part of that we completed over the winter. Of course, when the ground is frozen, it's a lot less damaging to the turf. So the tree contractor had a great winter for them to work, not a great winter for our ski teams that are out there. But they were able to get all that completed while everything was frozen. They are off site now and have completed that work. Then we will start the irrigation and course improvement package will start next July. So we have a few things we're going to do in-house in preparation of that this year, but the idea is to try to minimize the impact on the golfers while these projects are going on. So the irrigation project will start next July. Initially, it'll be kind of in the rough or kind of off the main plane areas where they'll put in the main system. And then they'll start putting loops of sprinkler heads out into the fairways around tees and greens, more into late August, September. And then the idea is they would be all done by the end of the 2023 season. Then we'd open 2024. Everything would be done and cleaned up. So I guess with that, I will stand for any questions. Couldn't be happier with how the year went. The one note was that, as you guys all know, we did take over the food and beverage operation, brought that back in-house, hired about 14 or 15 very inexperienced young people who just did a killer job for us last year. So we are excited about bringing some new staff and integrating those new staff in with what is now a veteran staff of 1 year. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Great job, Jim.
There's a lot of excitement going on out there. It's and everything's good.
Yeah, it is. And then the staff's energized. We're busy. We're working hard, but it's really fun.
You know, I'm on your mailing list for your newsletter. Do you know just roughly how many people are on that list?
I would have to check. I believe it's almost 1,200. And the one thing that it's surprising, not a lot of people are engaged in newsletters and things like that. We use Constant Contact, and I know last year we were getting 3 to 4% open and click rate, which, believe it or not, is extremely high. So we feel really good that the newsletter is reaching the people that we want to reach, and that the people that are getting it are getting useful information out of it. And you'll notice on the calendar at the last page of our newsletter, you will notice, Brent, that March calendar is a lot busier than it was in the past. So we're also seeing a big influx of rental requests and inquiries now that I think everybody is itching to get out and have events. So we're really encouraged by that as well.
Are you still trying to capture additional email addresses?
Oh yeah, you can register, let us know in the golf shop, or you can online let us know, and absolutely anybody who's interested and want to get information out.
I really like that.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing now is we've been doing it about 4 or 5 years, and initially it was pretty much golfers, or league members and things like that. But as we're growing some of the events and other opportunities, we want more people to, 80% of the information is pretty golf specific, but we always try to touch on things that might be going on in the recreation department in their upcoming events we may have. So we encourage people to come out and enjoy the facility, even if they're not golfers.
Well, good job, Jim.
Great.
Yeah,
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
So now I think we're probably going to hear from the Park Superintendent.
Backbone.
Good evening, Chair, members of the committee. Thanks for having me. Mike Enders, Park Superintendent. It's only been a couple weeks, I think, since I stood before you with some updates, so I don't know if I've got a whole lot more to add, but I'll give you what I've got. I wanted to let you know that we had a retirement recently. One of our foremen for 30-plus years just retired, and we filled that vacancy internally. The gentleman accepted, Dane Breno accepted, and it becomes official on March 10th. We're excited. He's coming in with some new energy and focus, and particularly on our athletic side of things, and we're happy to bring him aboard. Midwinter Fest, I can review a little bit about that. The preparation for that on the maintenance side of it was pretty extensive, from snow removal, getting preparation for heaters set up and everything like that. The maintenance crews worked pretty diligently for a week leading up to it to get it going. During the event itself, Mother Nature threw us some cold and wind, so we decided to move the stage, and that was eventful to say the least. But it was a long day, but we really had a good time, and I think those that were there enjoyed it as well. So just a little update on that. Snow operations, as of the date, the numbers that are there didn't include the last snow event we had. So we had roughly about 1,300 hours so far in snow removal hours with the crew so far. It's been a pretty light winter, pretty mild, but we're definitely not over yet, that's for sure. Outdoor rink updates. Usually President's Day strikes the end of the rink season. We were pretty adamant about trying to keep a few sites open yet this last week. But again, it got real warm, and by the end of this week, or frankly by this weekend, everything will be about done. Everything that's, particularly the grass rinks, have just failed. They start to loosen up on the north ends where they get direct sunlight and everything, so that's about buttoned up for the season. We'll be removing the nets and calling it done for the year. Activities, there we go. So in the meantime, what we're doing, if we're not out with the rinks or moving snow, typically in the winter we clean up all our barrel inventories, recycling bins, athletic orders go in, pool inventories, safety supplies, OSHA training. It's real heavy in March with training. We do a lot of that throughout the season. Picnic table repairs, tree pruning is really a big event that we do throughout the winter as well. We start to go after that. Staff annual reviews, maintenance on other equipment while it's before the summer starts up. Snow operations obviously is when needed. The nets get repaired when they come in after a season, and seasonal interviews. I will say though that it has been a struggle lately this year, so we're looking to, publicly I'll say we need some applicants. So if you know anybody, certainly send them our way. I'd appreciate that.
What are the qualifications you're looking for?
They do have to be 18 years old, just because of equipment operation. So they need to have that at a minimum for the maintenance side of staff.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other things, bags have been extremely popular. So we actually built 4 more sets of bags for the uses this summer. They've actually done it inside as well, but it's turned into a real popular event. I know we talked about a master plan and signage, but even if one of the signs gets bad, Summerfield was beyond repair almost. So we're going to install a new one, basically our old style, but for the time being, we'll have something there to advertise it. And we did a painting project inside the activity center. It was looking extremely dated and worn. We basically painted everything inside that building completely.
What is that being used for right now, Mike? Anything?
We don't have anything scheduled there yet. We're still trying to fill that void or looking for opportunities or what we're actually going to do with that building. Just the warming house is basically all it gets used for now in the winter, but it was dated.
So I've never been in there. There's 2 separate rooms then?
Yeah, so to access, from the east side or the hockey rink side,
Yep.
there's an access door right there, and that is separated with the rubber floor, as you see right here in the picture. And then on the other side of that wall is basically a tiled, open area with a small office where that bump out is there. There's a kind of an office area there. The restrooms are just to the, other side of that where that ladder is. And then kind of a concessions area connected as well. Future projects, we've got a dock to install at Farquhar. We've got an old outdated one there that we're gonna be installing a new one. We've got the shaded pickleball, picnic tables to go in yet at the new courts. They'll be installed this year, and the Cedar Isles walk bridges through the south part of Cedar Isles are pretty beat up. We purchased new decking to go across both of those walk bridges. That'll be a pretty large project with 2 of them there, so, but large projects beyond that, we'll see where the referendum falls into play, but this is kind of what we've got going. And again, staffing issues are tight this year, so I'm hoping we get some more seasonal staff on board. So with that, I stand to answer any questions you might have.
Happy to see a new sign go in at Summerfield.
I have had a lot of calls about that. It was showing wear for sure, yeah, and it needed it, and I debated if we're bringing in a new set of sign style but really, we do that in-house and we can get them built pretty quickly, so.
Mike, do you have any estimation on date of when the gates might be installed in the 2 parks for the dog park?
Yes, we did an informal last week with city council. They were on board, so they gave us an okay to move forward. Now it's just a matter of putting together some rules and informational pieces, sending that to legal and getting their approval, maybe some code updates to go with that as well. But I would anticipate we'd have them up and going by the time the snow melts.
Fantastic.
We'll build them in-house as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
Nice job, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, with that, we move into the final portion of our meeting tonight. Are there any announcements from the staff?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, maybe just a couple comments. First one would be just, thanks to Mike, to Jim, Brian, Doreen, for all of their hard work and their leadership and making sure that everything happens. Because without these folks and without the folks that work with them, we can't do what we do every day. So appreciate all of their help and their leadership and all the programs and maintenance and everything that they do to make our parks and recreation system work. We're missing one person right now. We have a vacant recreation manager position. We are currently recruiting for that position. It closes on March 10th, and then we'll be in the interview process. So hopefully within the next 30 to 60 days, we'll have a new recreation manager, and once we have that person on board, we'll obviously bring them to the Parks Committee, and we'll introduce that person and get that person acclimated to what we do and how we do it and things like that. So those are just the 2 comments I wanted to share.
Thank you. Any comments from the committee on any new topics? Doreen distributed the year's meeting calendar. So our next meeting here is on Thursday, April 7th, 6 p.m. And with that, I think we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Lisa, second by Noah to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.